Guys, it happened. The Green Bay Packers have finally done it. Joe Barry will not return as the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers. This massive news just dropped a couple minutes ago, and this is not something I expected to wake up to this morning. Now, overall, I thought the Green Bay Packers would eventually make this move, and I was kind of hoping it would happen sooner rather than later, so then the Packers could still get one of the top candidates at defensive coordinator. So I'm glad that Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst have made this decision this early, so they can then move forward and find their next defensive coordinator. We can all agree it was just time for a change, a time for the Green Bay Packers to move on from Joe Barry. A lot of us didn't really understand the hire when Joe Barry was hired as defensive coordinator 3 years ago, being part of the 0-16 Detroit Lions defense, a couple of bad defenses in Washington. Joe Barry's track record never really showcased anything great. And it never really was anything great here in Green Bay, being a bottom defense in terms of DVOA the 3 years he was here in Green Bay. And a lot of us would agree that the Packers defense had way too much talent to be performing this bad. Now, I do want to give credit to this defense later in this season, right? Week 18 against the Dallas Cowboys. They definitely turned it around. And maybe that was a testament to the players, or maybe it was something Joe Barry was doing, or maybe it was that Matt LaFleur kind of took more of a hold over the defense, as he said he would, saying communication needs to be better. And maybe Matt LaFleur was the reason the defense kind of turned it around. And maybe that showed Matt LaFleur, hey, why do I even have Joe Barry here if I had to step up heavier and turn this defense around? And it actually did. That's what I'm guessing. After the Packers lost to the 49ers, Matt LaFleur went out to praise a lot of coaches, and he didn't do that with Joe Barry. So we kind of all thought, okay, Joe Barry likely will be gone. But there was a rumor after the season that Joe Barry's contract was up. And then I think yesterday it came out that Joe Barry's contract was not indeed up. So a lot of us got worried that, oh gosh, he's going to remain here. But luckily that is not the case. Joe Barry is finally gone. And it just feels like we're repeating some history here, right? Like, I feel like us Green Bay Packers fans have gone through this multiple times, whether it be through Dom Capers or Mike Pettin. It just usually seems like the Packers tend to hold on to their coordinators a season or two longer than they should. I mean, after we just get the news yesterday of the Milwaukee Bucks firing their head coach in a winning season, it's just crazy that, the Bucks do something like that. And I'm like, oh, wow, the Packers can't even get rid of their 3-year defensive coordinator that has proven nothing. But luckily, they finally have. So then you may be asking, what are some defensive coordinator options for the Green Bay Packers? And I'm sure a lot of people still would want Jim Leonhard in as defensive coordinator. Right now, he is the senior football analyst at Illinois, and he's kind of been turning down some jobs, and I think maybe trying to make a jump to the NFL. And I think this is a perfect fit. At first, when the Packers interviewed him and instead hired Joe Barry, it was because Jim Leonhard turned down the job. But now I think his eyes are set towards the NFL, and I think Jim Leonhard would be an awesome hire at defensive coordinator for the Packers. For the Wisconsin defense in 2017, they were first in total defense. In 2018, they were 41st, so a little bit of a drop there. But back in 2019, back up to 8th. In 2020, they were 5th. And in 2021, they were 1st. So he's taken control of many great defenses in college. Obviously, we know he's a Wisconsin alma mater. He used to play safety for multiple teams. Jim Leonhard is a Dave Aranda disciple, which is another guy that I think would fit at defensive coordinator. He uses sim pressure, creeper pressure well, which is something that I really want to see from the Green Bay Packers. He still runs a 3-4 base scheme, so the Packers wouldn't have to change much. Uses more of a 2-4-5. They cover 3 base, but more importantly, Jim Leonhard has shown his ability to adjust a lot. And that's something that we didn't really see much from Joe Barry throughout the 3 years he was here. As I was mentioning, Jim Leonhard being a Dave Aranda disciple. Dave Aranda used to be the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin before Jim Leonhard. Now he's the current Baylor head coach, but has a 23-24 record. So, not doing too great over there. If you wanted to maybe make a jump to the NFL at a defensive coordinator position, I think Dave Aranda would be an awesome defensive coordinator hire. He was the DC at Wisconsin from 2013 to 2015, the defensive coordinator at at LSU from 2016 to 2019, where he took part in the 2nd rated defense in 2016, the 8th rated in 2017, and the 5th rated defense in 2018. He also runs a 3-4 base, so same scheme right now that the Packers run, implementing some 3-3-5, some 2-4-5, and also a cover 3 zone matching type of defense. So the Packers really wouldn't have to change too much. But then there's the argument, okay, what if the Packers completely change scheme, right? And I know it doesn't matter too much because not many NFL defenses really run base anymore. Like the Packers aren't in 3-4 too much anymore. Most defenses are going to come out in nickel a lot of the time. So it's not going to matter too much. But I always thought about the Packers maybe switching back to a 4-3 like the old days with Aaron Campman. It's something to think about. And I think that if the Packers were to make that switch, I think they could make it happen. I think they have some talent on this roster that would fit that scheme well. But again, in today's age, it really doesn't matter too much. Another couple options for defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, one being Leslie Frazier, who stepped out of coaching in 2023. And of course, he was the Bills defensive coordinator from 2020 to 2022 and took part in some great defenses there. Another option is Ajiro Evera. I hope I'm saying that right. Now, he was an option at defensive coordinator when they hired Joe Barry. I believe the Packers actually interviewed him. He was the Packers defensive quality control coach in 2016, and he was the Denver Broncos defensive coordinator in 2022, and then most recently the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers in 2023. And you might be wondering, why would they hire a Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator? And surprisingly, the Panthers defense was the strongest point of that team last year, or this season, should I say. And I think he's definitely going to be an option for the Green Bay Packers at defensive coordinator. Now, will he make a straight switch from defensive coordinator to defensive coordinator? That's something we'll just have to see. The Panthers are now obviously looking for a new head coach, so Evero could very well just go to another team. But overall, now the search for a new defensive coordinator begins for the Green Bay Packers, and I'm very excited to see who they start to interview at that defensive coordinator spot. I know there's going to be a few interesting names. That always happens with the Green Bay Packers, where we're going, please, not him. But I'm hoping there's some positive ones too, where we look at that track record of that guy and go, that would be a nice hire at defensive coordinator, something that we didn't think when we saw them interviewing Joe Barry. But that about does it for this video. Just wanted to quickly go over the breaking news and kind of some of the options at defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, as more news comes out and more updates come out on who the Packers may hire at defensive coordinator, it'll all be here right on this channel. So make sure to go down and click subscribe if you haven't already. But that about does it for this video. I appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack, go.